Hey guys, Russell here with Walker Custom Garage. I wanted to take this time today and spend a few minutes going over a comprehensive cost analysis of what it took me to build this project behind me. I know a lot of you guys are probably looking to get into building your dream car, or maybe you have one sitting in the garage already. A lot of you are looking to do a budget build, or maybe you have endless funds, I don't know. But I've taken a few notes here and I want to go over the categories and just what it took down to the penny of how much it cost for me to build my dream car. At the end, I'd like to take a minute or two and kind of go over some big changes that are going to come to the channel and some updates. So I spent quite a bit of time looking through all my receipts and calculating just how much all this cost. I broke it down into about 14 or 15 categories, some of the main categories for what it took me to build this thing. And I want to start off with the purchase of the truck itself. I was lucky enough to find this on Craigslist. The guy had it just sitting in the back of his yard, and when I went and took a look at it, we talked about it. He didn't really have a price in mind. At the time, it was a roller. It was a complete roller. It had the front axle, had the rear axle. It had a transmission, and it had a LS motor in it, along with the cab. And it also had a truck bed that I ended up getting rid of. So the final purchase price was $800. It did have a title. It was titled as a 1929 Nash. The chassis actually has the VIN number on it, so I was able to title it with no problem. Obviously the cab itself is the 40s model GMC. It did have a badge, but it was unreadable, so I just kind of took it off. Didn't really mess with it. The second category that I have to go over is the registration itself. As I understood it, it had been sitting in his field, in his backyard, for about 3 or 4 years. So there was some penalties associated with the title, getting the registration put into my name. I think 3 or 4 years of penalties. So the total cost was $328.50. The next category that I want to go over is the engine, and this is the complete engine that I ended up building myself. I didn't use the LS motor that came with it. I actually purchased an engine through the marketplace on Facebook, and this is gonna be everything. So this is the alternator, the motor mounts, the headers and the mufflers, and everything that I had to purchase for the motor. And the total price of that was $1,474.24. Next up would be the fuel system. This is going to be everything from the fuel cell, the fuel pump, the regulator, all the hoses that I had to run, the gas pedal assembly, and the air scoop. I added that into that category. The total cost of that was $596.78. Next up would be the cooling system. This is going to be the radiator and the fan. That's pretty much the entire category there, and the total cost was $446. Next category will be the transmission. I ended up going to Arkansas to pick up a C4 transmission, but this is also going to include things like the starter, the rear transmission yoke and the slip yoke for the transmission itself, the drive shaft, and the speedometer cable, and the total cost came to $1,045.85. The transmission itself was a pretty good deal. It cost me $450 just for the transmission, but it also came with a 3600 stall converter, and I feel like that was a good deal because those stall converters can be pretty pricey. Next category is the suspension. That was one of the first things that I did. I purchased a complete front suspension kit from Speedway, and that was the drop axle, the spindles, the disc brake kit, and everything combined to be able to do the entire front suspension. But this category is going to include that, as well as the rear suspension, like the coilovers that I ended up putting on there, the pan hard bar, and as well as the 4-link suspension on the rear end. And the total cost of that was $1,479.85. Next category is the brake pedal assembly. This was an entire kit. I think it was like a Model A kit that mounted underneath the floorboard. And I actually got this for free through my work. They have a program with Amazon. I was able to save up and actually get this for free, but the cost of that that I included into the total was $145.67. Next up will be the steering. This is the steering column, all the shafts, the heim joints, the universal joints, everything that I needed, the steering wheel, everything that was associated with doing the steering. I did have, somehow or another, I don't recall how I picked it up, but for years I've had a Vega steering box that I kind of carried with me, so I ended up using that on this project and it worked really well. But the total cost of that was $476.12. Next up is going to be the wiring. This is all the wiring. This is all the wires that I had to buy. This is the fuse block, the lights, as well as the battery. And the total cost of that was $623.95. Next category is going to be the tires and the rims themselves. I purchased those off of Craigslist. When I purchased the rims initially, it came with the front tires, and I ended up having to buy tires for the rear rims. But the total cost of that was $756.02. Next up is going to be the seats. Now I got pretty lucky with these seats. I found them on Marketplace, and the guy that I got them from actually just lived about a mile or two away, and he was just trying to get rid of them. They're 1968 Barracuda seats, and they're tore up. They need to be redone, reupholstered completely. It needs the new foam and all that stuff, but it was complete, had all the brackets and the chrome that came with it. So I think I got pretty lucky with this find, but the total cost of that was $200. Next up is going to be the paint and the body filler. Now this includes everything. This is all the applicators that I had to buy, even though I'm going to use these things again for other projects. I'm going to include all that stuff. This was the body filler, the paint, all the paint. This was blue paint, white paint, red paint, engine paint, Flex Seal, all the paint included. And the total cost of that was $337.96. So I actually came in under what I expected. Next up is little things like welding gas. This is something that I don't think a lot of us don't take into consideration when we're doing a project. There's a lot of little nickel and dime things that we don't really think about that really hit the pocketbook in the end. So welding gas is the next category. I think I had to go to Air Gas and fill up my tanks twice. They're rather small tanks, but that's both argon as well as 75-25 for the MIG. And the total cost of that was $138.82. Continuing on with some miscellaneous items, this is going to include things like all the nuts and bolts, washers, caulk, rivets, chassis tabs, the little brackets that I had to weld onto the chassis, sheet metal that I had to purchase for the floor and for the dash, and just various things like that. The total cost of that came to $577.51. And the final category that I have for you guys is the windows and the mirrors. If you remember, if you watch some of the videos, I ended up doing a plexiglass front window. I also purchased plexiglass for the side windows, and I have those done, but they don't quite fit right. So I'm going to have to look into that a little bit. But as well as the side mirrors and the rear view mirror. And the total cost of that was $422.48. Now the grand total really kind of surprised me. I think I thought initially that I came in right around $7,000, but it was actually quite a bit more than that. The grand total came to $9,849.78. This is the gross total. I did have a few things, like I told you at the beginning. I had the LS motor along with the 350 turbo transmission that came with this thing, as well as the front axle that came along with the truck. So for the motor and the transmission, I ended up getting $400 for those on the marketplace. And I also sold the front drop axle along with the tires and everything that came with it for $200. I ended up recouping about $600 on that. So the entire net cost to build this thing, this is everything included, every penny, was $9,249.78. And generally speaking, If you look online, if you're looking to just purchase one of these things, an old rat rod, you're generally looking to spend right about $10,000. Sometimes you can find a really good deal. I've seen them as low as $7,500, but they're not in very good shape. I would say that they're barely drivable. But I've seen them as high as $14,000-15,000 for just a general old rat rod. And I would consider this probably worth about that $10,000 to $12,000. But in the end, I'm really happy with this build. I'm happy that I got to do it. I'm glad that I was able to do the financial gymnastics to make this work. And I'm happy to be able to share this with you so that you have an understanding of basically what it's going to cost if you want to do a similar build. Now, I understand that all builds are going to be different. Some people are a little bit more resourceful when they come to finding the parts that they need. A guy like myself, I'm not too resourceful. I end up buying most of my stuff online through Speedway or running to the automotive store. Ultimately, most of everything on here was brand new parts, so I'm really happy with the build. I'm happy with the way that it runs. I'm happy with the way that it drives. I really enjoy it. It's really one of the highlights of my day, and to be able to take it to a car show and win a trophy was probably the pinnacle of this entire build. So I want to go over a couple of updates and big changes that are about to happen, both in my personal life and to this channel. I have every intention of continuing to expand this channel and work on new projects. In fact, I've already picked up the next project, and it's pretty exciting. I think it's sort of a rare find. I think you guys will be excited too. I don't want to say too much about it because I don't want to spoil the surprise. It's going to come up pretty soon. But in the meantime, everything is in the works to move in with my girlfriend right now. So I'm going to spend the next month or two getting all of my possessions and everything transitioned over there. I'll have plenty of room to keep this over there along with the next project that I have coming up. But I'm currently in the process of just getting everything over there and everything organized. That way I'll have everything easily accessible and I can get started on it. But as you guys can imagine, I'm sure most of you have been through moves in your life. It takes a little bit of time to get situated and get comfortable. So in conclusion, I hope this helped you guys. I hope it kind of gave you a comprehensive breakdown of what it costs for me to build this thing. Hopefully it gives you an idea of the general cost of what it's going to take you to build something similar. I'm sure if you guys are more resourceful than me, which wouldn't take much, you could probably do it under the budget that I had. But yeah, the total cost at the end was $9,249.78. Either way, I'm pretty happy with the way that it turned out. I have a lot of good things coming up very soon, like the next project, and I'm really eager to show you guys, but I just have to get there first. So I appreciate your patience. I appreciate all your support. Thank you very much for all the kind words and all the comments that you've left. Feel free to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one.